How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, do me a huge favor, go down and subscribe. We have yet another video on the Mazda Miata. I've wanted to make this one for a while now, but I just never found the proper time, but here we go. So, when the first thing you think of in terms of performance for a Miata, you think of it's slow and it handles good. But how slow in reality is the Miata? Can you go highway speeds? Is it practical to own this car and not drive 25 miles per hour? A lot of people compare these to the Honda Gram. If you don't know what that is, it's a little 125cc kind of moped motorcycle thing that goes out at like 55 miles per hour top speed, 60 miles per hour top speed. Not really practical for highway driving, but definitely very enjoyable on the streets. Now, is the Mazda Miata capable of more than that? Is the Miata actually the Gram of cars? And to the answer of that question is yes, it is, but it's a little bit more than that as well. I think the only proper way to really talk about the Miata is to go take it out on a drive. So let's go put some heat into the motor and go talk about it. So from factory, the Mazda Miata has about 100 horsepower, or 116 I believe is the exact number. Throughout the years they probably lost a little bit of power, so my car is probably making somewhere around 100. I think 100 is pretty fair to say how much power this thing's making. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some heat into the motor. I'm gonna warm it up a little bit, and then I'm gonna show you guys how quickly this car actually accelerates and whether or not you can actually cruise at a highway speed or not. So I'm gonna go put heat into it. We're gonna go hit a back road real quick, and then we might hit a highway or just a closed road, and I'll show you guys how efficiently or inefficiently this car can cruise at about 60 to 70 miles per hour. All right, it's quite windy out today, but I'm gonna show you guys a third gear acceleration from about 35 miles per hour, and then I'm gonna show you guys the Miata just cruising at about 60 miles per hour. And then I'll tell you how it feels afterwards. All right, here we go. I'm gonna put my foot to the floor. That is second gear, third gear in that second video there, all the way to 60, fifth gear. At the end, just cruising at about 60 miles per hour on a closed road there. The car does pretty well. So when I picked the car up, I didn't really know what to expect. I'm like, this car has a total of like 100 horsepower. Will this car even be able to do like 60 miles per hour comfortably? And it does it really comfortably. On the way back, when I bought this car, did about 80 miles per hour, of course in an 80 miles per hour zone, but this car cruised at 80 miles per hour, not a problem. Of course you're at like 4,000 RPM or so because it's only a 5-speed transmission, so it does rev a little bit higher. As you saw, I was going about 60 miles per hour and I was just about 3,000 RPM. It's an unfortunate thing when you have a 5-speed. The BMW that's parked right there also is a 5-speed. Cars don't have that extra gear for cruising on the highway because back then the speed limits were like 55 and 65 on the very maximum. Back in the early 90s, I think they were just about 55. If we do look at the BMW, you can see that there is that red mark at 55 because that's what the speed limits were back in even 2000. The car does 55 really comfortably, but this car also does 65, 75 miles per hour very, very comfortably. I don't think I've ever like complained about the ability for it to cruise on the highway, other than the fact that it does make a lot of noise because of the soft top. Even with the hard top, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of cabin noise, and it being a small car, it's kind of like a motorcycle. People don't really see you. You're kind of a little bit invisible, and you got to be a little bit aware of that. Of course, big trucks, semi trucks, they're not going to see you on the highway. So if you know you have one coming towards you, you want to make sure you are in a position that they know you're there, because if you're gonna be in front of them, they're just gonna run you over and they won't know it. In terms of straight line acceleration though, it doesn't really have too much, and you get to 55 and 50 gear pretty quickly. But what that does allow you to do is, you know, bring the car out a little bit. You can, you know, go over 3,500 RPM. You can go up to red line and roll through the gears and not really have go to jail speeds. You know, the second I take this car from second to third gear, I'm going 110 miles per hour. And you know, that's not the most practical. In Miata, you can go first, second, third, ring it out a little bit like I just did, and you'll only be at about 55, 60 miles per hour. And that's perfect for the back roads, 45, 55 miles per hour, maybe even 60s on some rural highways. The car does perfect. Now, I wouldn't commute, you know, cross country in this car on a daily basis, but for the occasional, you know, highway trip, or for the short 10-minute highway trip, it does the job. I don't want to say this because everyone says this about a Miata, but it's literally just a go-kart. Like, it has a decent amount of, you know, straight line acceleration. When you compare it to other cars, a Toyota Corolla would probably be faster than this thing. But it's extremely fun when you get it around the corners. That's what it's made for. But you're not going to lack power or lack the ability to cruise at higher speeds on a daily basis because the car has such limited horsepower. And that was one of the questions I had, because I had to drive it back, you know, 2 hours, 2.5 hours or so. And the question was, is the Miata going to be able to cruise at 70, 75 miles, 80 miles per hour on the highways? And the answer to that question was, yeah, it does it. This car has some really garbage suspension aftermarket coilovers on it, which probably don't help in terms of it being planted onto the road. And then along with the really bad suspension, if you can see how big these tires are, like there's absolutely nothing there. They're really skinny, and they're stocks, of course. I think once I add my aftermarket wheel and tire setup, it's gonna handle and be a little bit more stable on the road as well. That's all I have for this video though. If you did enjoy, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you go and subscribe so you don't miss any videos on this car, on the Mustang, on the Lexus, on the BMW, and hopefully soon I'll be taking delivery of a Bronco as well. So if you don't want to miss any of that content, plenty of modifications to come. Again, I'm just waiting for winter at this time because we have a couple nice days to enjoy the car, so I don't want to take it apart quite just yet. That being said, I will see you guys in the next video.